Gigi Berardi, reading FoodWISE, and this is the last page of the section on labor in our shared world of food and farming. I'm just going to read a few paragraphs, talk about an author event that I was going to have with a good friend and colleague in New York City that was canceled, and then riff just a little bit on universities and colleges opening in the fall. So labor. A workforce in constant fear of illness, unemployment, or deportation hardly spells resilience for the farms these workers currently keep afloat. Clearly, if we want to keep growing food, we're going to have to find a way to keep our labor force. It all comes back to resilience. Just as we need to maintain healthy soil in order to grow food, to build connections between farmers and communities, to support farms that don't rely on vulnerable off-farm sources of fertility, so do we also need workers. Eliminating 20% of our farm workers, which is what legal-only workers translates into, means billions of dollars of losses, especially on mega-scale, but also small-scale farms. It's just possible, although hard to imagine, with FVH crops, that some of those mega farms could handle this setback. But smaller farms are vulnerable. And as we've seen, it's those smaller farms that any FoodWISE consumer needs to keep alive. A FoodWISE approach considers a farm's place in the greater social and economic web and takes the long view to do what is necessary for labor to be sustainable. Wages can be where a farm looks to cut costs as it struggles financially to stay above water. Every region has its own challenges. In New York, for example, quote, there's almost unbelievable pressure in the Hudson Valley to develop real estate, to pay workers bottom low wages, to work the bottom line, end quote, says M.B. Ryan of Breezy Hill and Stone Ridge Orchards. Ryan considers the social ecosystem to be just as important as the natural world her apples grow in. Hope for her extends not only to the fresh fruit, cider, and apple pies, but also to the families who help pick and make them. My livelihood rises and falls with the families who work for her, she says. A Cornell University graduate with a degree in pomology, Ryan has been in business for 3.5 decades. Competition for her products seems to grow, ever more intense, but she has found a way to keep her head above water, clocking many hours of direct marketing and maintaining a well-compensated labor force. So MB Ryan and I were going to have an author, grower, processor. She produces apple cider and fermented apple cider and many other apple products, much of which she markets directly. We were going to have an event together on March 18th, but we canceled that event in early March because of the coronavirus pandemic and to be safe. And it was the very right thing to do at the time. I can't help but think of my own university and what's going to be happening in the fall. Colleges and universities across the United States. We see a hodgepodge within universities and among universities as to strategies for combinations, hybrid, face-to-face, and online mixes. And the prudent strategy is the resilient strategy, which is to stay open in the fall, and we do that by being online. So for your reading enjoyment, I've got 2 articles from The Atlantic, and then you can see some counter opinions, for example, in the New York Times.